Up next, when 3 million more people move to the Chicago area, will the area be ready for them? Over the next 30 years, an estimated 2.8 million people will move to the northeastern corner of Illinois. And that will create nearly 2 million new jobs. Sounds like good news for the economy, but where will these new people live and work? And what happens when they take to the roads and public transportation? All these questions are being raised by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. That group is launching a new campaign to get ready for the expected boom. The agency is developing a comprehensive plan to carry the Chicago area through the next 30 years. It's called Go to 2040. Joining us now is Randy Blankenhorn. He's the Executive Director of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. Welcome to Chicago Tonight. First of all, in plain terms, what is Go to 2040?
Go to 2040 is really more than a plan. It's a campaign to get people involved in thinking about their future, thinking about what we want our communities to look like, what we want the region to look like, and to think about what kind of a region we want for our children and for our grandchildren.
You know, sometimes when people start using words like land use planning and transportation, you know, people's eyes start rolling in the back of their heads. Why does it matter to ordinary folks? And I mean, you're a planner. It matters to planners. Why should everyday people care about it?
Well, I think that planners sometimes miss the message when we talk about this. What really matters is that when I have to leave work at 3:30 to make my daughter's 5 o'clock soccer game, that's a problem. And that's a problem we need to address. It's a problem we need to figure out how to move people better throughout this area.
So what is the goal of this new campaign? What do you want to do?
The goal of the new campaign is to really talk about the major issues that are facing us over the next 30 years plus. Talk about transportation. Talk about the environment and how we have the need for more open space and what we're going to do to acquire it. To talk about our housing problems and how we have the right kind of housing for where our jobs are. So it's really a comprehensive look at the future, and it's a way to get all of our residents involved in talking about that future.
And one of the ways that you're trying to get all residents involved in planning for this future is this feature that you have where you're asking for community involvement. Tell me about that.
We're trying to do a number of new things with community involvements. In our business in the past, we have a public meeting, and we get the same 12 people that come every year and talk about their issues. We want to engage people in different ways. There are new technologies, using the internet, using the computer technology that's there to ask people their opinion, to have interactive online conversations about the issues that we're facing, and also to get out to community groups in a better way, to talk in the neighborhoods, to talk in our suburban areas about what matters to them locally before we try to patch together what it really means for us regionally.
Aren't the goals kind of obvious? I mean, most people don't want to live too far from work, and most people want to be able to get to that soccer game in less than an hour and a half, and most people, when they get on public transportation, want the bus to show up, want the train to show up and take them where they need to go. Why does it have to be so complicated?
The vision itself, I don't believe, is very complicated. I believe people in this region share very much of a common vision. It's really the strategies to implement that vision, and that's where we think this planning process will be different. Most plans look very nice, they win some awards, they get put on a shelf and no one ever looks at them. We're really talking about strategies to implement. If we want to have better traffic movement, what are we really going to do about it? Where are we going to make capital investments? Where are we going to spend tax dollars to really make a difference? And I think that's what we're trying to talk about in this process.
So you're going to come up with a plan and you're going to get the dollars to implement the plan? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that if we don't have a good plan, we'll never get the dollars to implement it. And so certainly we have to tell the story in the right way. We have to have a story that's compelling to the voters, to our political people, both here in Springfield and in Washington, and then we need to sell what needs to happen.
So, you say you come up with a great plan. You say having this great plan will then what? Free up money to come up with better highways, better public transportation?
I think that we'll talk about better choices. I think we'll talk about making investments that are results-driven, that talk about outcomes. What do we want to have happen? And have our transportation and other infrastructure support that, not the other way around, not where we start talking about a highway or a transit extension without talking about who it's going to serve and why.
You know, in the past, in the tug of war between planners and developers, people who want to come up with a project where they'll make a lot of money, the developers win a lot of time. Why would it be different, you know, in the next 30 years?
Yeah, I think that part of the reason that it'll be different is that our local leaders, whether on the government side or the civic side or the business side, truly understand that we're in one regional economy and that we have to work together. It's not going to be as easy to play communities off. It's not Schaumburg against Joliet against Chicago. It's Northeastern Illinois against China and India for jobs. And so we have to plan better. We have to plan together. And I think, again, those development decisions are made at the local level. And so how we get local officials together to talk about what's best for this entire region, both from an economic standpoint and from a quality of life.
You know, we just went through a period where the state had, you know, a dickens of a time coming up with money for public transit. Where's this money going to come from?
Well, I think that if you look at what happened in Springfield, I don't think there was much debate up here in northeastern Illinois that it was the right thing to do. I think that our residents understood that we had to make an investment in public transit. So I think we need to continue to do that. We need to talk about why this is necessary. We need to convince our leaders in Springfield and in Washington that we're willing to do this. We taxed ourselves for that public transit operating money, and I think that when you talk about real need, we're hoping that this plan will help sell the public on why we need to continue to make those investments.
So how soon do you plan to come up? How soon will the plan be ready? And then what do you do with it?
The schedule for the plan is we're dealing with the vision now, creating this vision for the region. The first real stage is we want to talk about a sets of strategies that get us there. How do we make investments and take those out to the public and talk about them? The plan, and we're going to do that in conjunction with the Burnham Centennial in 2009. And so we think that we can really build on Daniel Burnham's anniversary, 100th anniversary of his plan of Chicago, in getting more people involved. We'll approve this plan in the winter and fall of 2010, which seems like a long time from now. In planners' worlds, it was yesterday. But I think that it really takes that much time to get people to talk about what they really want and really need.
Randy Blankenhorn, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it.
Back in a moment with Carol Marine and veteran reporter John Drummond.
This evening's presentation of Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by ComEd.
Hey, how many monkeys does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
None. That's the giraffe's job.